So here's I'm going to ask you. In fact, we're going to make a deal with the devil. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Okay. All right. So the deal with the devil is this, because y'all know money can be the devil. By the way, I'm an expert on money, and I have a whole doctorate in money. And money can be an angel or the devil depending on what situation you're in. Here's the deal with the devil. You get to be worth $3 billion. So you have all the money you want, private jets. If you like women, there's plenty of women. If you want to take lots of vacations, there's lots of vacations. Financial peace and security for the rest of your life. You're feeling good financially. Everything's great, right? Okay, that's the side. That's the good side, right? Now, the trade-off. Here's the trade-off. The trade-off is that you have to have a son that is gonna get arrested for possession of that white stuff. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say that word, but you know what I'm talking about. The cocaína, Pablo Escobar, right? And they're gonna get arrested. It's gonna be on national TV, and everyone's gonna wonder what kind of a horrible parent you might have been that your kids are out here getting locked up, possessing drugs, and kind of embarrassing themselves in the family. Give me a yes or no. Would you take that trade? Would you take that trade that you can have the whole world, but your child is it could theoretically possibly be addicted to drugs? Yes or no? What would you how many of you would take that deal? And let's not don't give any conditions. Just a straight yes or no. None of this like, well, I would use my money and send him to rehab, and I'll use no. You can't do that. That's the situation. Like now your son's in his 30s. You can't in case you've ever tried to change a person in their 30s, it's really hard to do. In case you've ever tried to do that, by the time they're in their 30s, the scientists talk about this. There are these things that I don't know very much about called neural pathways and stuff, and neural pathways are pretty much fully developed. And I'm gonna tell you, ain't don't nothing shape a neural pathway more than crack. Okay. Crack will shape a personality pretty firmly, and it's very, very hard to get somebody to shift out when they've kind of had that kind of exposure and made those sorts of decisions. Okay, I see a lot of no's. Okay, good. All right, good. So we've been learning something. We've been learning about the importance and the power of money while understanding the limitations of what money can and cannot do. Money cannot buy your soul. Money cannot buy back your children. A lot of times, money cannot buy your peace all the time. Doesn't mean that it can't help, right? The intelligent and productive use of money can certainly do that. But if you think just you can just write a check and make it all go away, there's a point where that can't happen. And so, how many of you know what I'm referencing when I ask that crazy question? How many? There's a news story that led to me asking that question. And how many of you know what story I'm referring to? Put it in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. All right, so yeah, Michael Jordan's son, Marcus, I believe that's his name, had a really unfortunate incident, and I want to be really careful and respectful when I talk about this because one of my friends that I just admire and respect immensely is Larry Miller, who was the CEO of the Air Jordan brand. Larry Miller is very good friends with Michael, and he ran the Jordan brand. Like he's the one. This y'all know about the genius of a black man. This black man was responsible for taking that company from maybe a couple hundred million a year to 3 billion a year. A lot of your kids want Jordans, and I've never seen that before. I've never seen a sneaker where I wanted it when I was 13, and our kids want it and when they're 13. Like I never thought I'd 40 years later, are you kidding me? I remember when the first kid in our school, I went to school with this guy that played for the Knicks named Allen Houston. And I remember Allen got one of the first pairs of Air Jordans in our middle school. We were eighth grade. Allen, he wasn't even 6 feet tall yet, but everybody knew he was a great basketball player. And it was a talk of the whole school that he got the first pair of Jordans. And so for 40 years later, for those shoes to still be as relevant as they are, you have one person to thank for that or to respect for that if you want it, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it. And it's Larry Miller. Larry Miller isn't just a friend of mine. He actually came and spoke at the All Black National Convention in 2022 when we were in Charlotte. And so I want to just make it clear I have how much respect I have for him. I've never met Michael though. I've never met Michael. One of the things that was interesting about this story with Michael, and I want to say this without assuming I know more than I know, is that I saw this happen and I thought about the kind of leader and that Michael is, right? I thought about the kind of extraordinary basketball player he is, and how much he's accomplished as a human being. I mean, in terms of sports, he exemplified excellence on every single level, and he was financially rewarded for his commitment to excellence. He's worth I think about $2 or $3 billion, so he can pretty much buy whatever he wants. One of my friends said that Michael Jordan came in the room one time, and it was like the Pope had arrived. Like it was that kind of power, that kind of energy, because this man did extraordinary things. But what also has to be honestly addressed is the fact that we all know that there's that other side. We all know that if you talk to other people that were working with Michael, people that knew him, sometimes the remarks would be somewhat unflattering. There were a lot of people who would say that he was kind of an asshole, that he was kind of a bully, very very domineering, right? Just kind of like he kind of bullied grown men, right? Like the NBA is very high testosterone. You got these big 6'9", super athletes walking around with big egos on their chest, and he pretty much would turn them into little boys. He was that good of an athlete, and to some extent that's to be admired, but at the same time. There's a darker side to that, right? There's a darker side to him, and a lot of people saw that. I know my wife. She's a therapist. Right now, she's got food poisoning. So if she didn't have food poisoning really badly, I would have asked her to come in and talk about this. But she is a person that would see the other side of that in terms of what that means as a parent, what that means in terms of your mental health, what that means in terms of the mental health of the people around you, what demons you're fighting that lead you to feel the need to just really be so abrasive and so, and every story about him is kind of like that. Where am I going with this? Well, where I'm going with this is actually first thing is a lot of people actually would say the same thing about Donald Trump. When you look at Trump's past, when Trump was in military school, his father sent him to military school so he would learn how to fight. So he's always been a fighter. He's always sort of been the guy to get in your face. When he went to military school, he was a bully. He was kind of quote unquote the alpha. He was the leader. So some people admired him as a leader. Some people hated him as a bully, right? So this kind of personality type, it made me wonder what effect this has on children. That's where I'm going with it. It made me wonder, and I probably identify with Marcus a little bit because my father was a Vietnam veteran, very strong man, very tough man, but he was also a police commander. And if you've ever been in a household with a man who literally tells 500 men what to do every day, he was a police commander over hundreds and hundreds of men. So if you've ever been in a household like that, you'll just know it's not like any other experience, right? It's really a lot like being in military school. And the only thing I can imagine that would be worse than that would be if your dad was also gone 80-90% of the time, right? If your dad was gone. If you remember Michael Jordan's speech, and I promise you, we're getting back to the wealth piece here because this is I have to set the stage for this discussion. I remember when Michael Jordan gave his Hall of Fame speech. Anybody remember the Hall of Fame speech he gave? How many of y'all remember that? How many basketball fans remember his Hall of Fame speech and how horrible it was? It was literally considered to be one of the worst Hall of Fame speeches ever. Like he literally spent his whole time basically bullying people and reminding them how he dominated them on the court. And then he talked about his kids. Woo, I would hate to be you guys. Like that's all he could say, right? And it was kind of all the sports commentators are like, what are you doing, dude? Like you won. Like we love you. Like you're admired now. You don't have to prove anything. But even the speech was still like there was still something inside of him that had to be fixed. Well, I when I saw Marcus Jordan, Michael Jordan's son, get arrested recently for drug possession, it made me wonder. I wonder what it felt like for him to sort of have Michael as a dad, right? And because it's not normal for a young man. How many of you, in fact, give me a yes. How many of you or your children have ever been arrested for cocaine possession ever? Anybody in here? Anybody in Tara, Carolyn Powell? You smoking that crack on the weekends? Anybody? Stephen Gordon, Lisa Jacqueline, April, and you got your son? Anybody? I mean, don't get me wrong. Drugs are out there, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're not out there. I had a biological father that got into the heroin or whatever, but it's not really common, right? It's kind of a thing, right? Where you're kind of like, okay, what's really going on here? And I don't know exactly how old Marcus Jordan is, but I think that he's in his 30s because I think he was dating Scottie Pippen's ex-wife or something like that. I think that's the brother that did that, which is he's 34 years old. So he's a full-grown man, and so it made me wonder like what kinds of issues might be happening here. And it also made me think about that trade, going back to that original question, the deal with the devil, the impossible trade. Would you take $3 billion in exchange for it, knowing that maybe there would be some significant collateral damage that would impact your kids? Right. And this is a huge and a hugely important financial conversation to have for those of you that are out here on this paper chase, out here chasing the money. Is one of the things that I always tell you about is wealth. I tell you the money's not the same as wealth. Wealth and money are two different things. Money is a type of wealth, but money is probably the least valuable wealth that you have in your portfolio. Do you understand? Like all of you were endowed a portfolio. All of you had a wealthy father called God who gave you. And I know I sound like a pastor when I talk like that, but I do believe in God. I don't go to church though, so don't make fun of me. I'm a little bit of a heathen. But you had this wealthy father called God, and he blessed you. He endowed you with this massive $1 trillion portfolio, and the portfolio didn't show up in the form of money. It showed up in the form of family. Maybe it showed up in the form of your physical and mental health. A lot of you wouldn't, wouldn't, if I gave you $100 million to chop off your left leg, most of you wouldn't take that deal. If I gave you $100 million to kill the relationship you have with your parents or with your child, most of you would not take that deal, right? So you were endowed with a portfolio, mostly your health, your wealth, and your relationships, that is more valuable than money. Do you understand? The money is important for sure. We know money is critical, but I see money almost like a lubricant to allow you to enjoy the other really important parts of your portfolio, right? We've discussed this, that money can be connected to your mental health because a person that has financial security is typically going to be mentally healthier than a person who is financially insecure. Give me a yes if you understand. A person who has access to money can get the best medical treatments and be healthier generally than a person who doesn't have money. The person with the money can go to the gym and get a trainer and all this other stuff, right? So it connects to your physical health if you use it in the right way. A man with money can have his pick of the litter when it comes to dating and relationships and marriage because women love men that have a little bit of money in their pocket. They feel more secure and safe with that man because that's a sign of strength, right? Same thing. A woman who's financially secure doesn't have to worry about being enslaved by a man with money, right? You're not doing like Kanye's little girlfriend who's up there getting butt naked on the Grammy stage, because you don't have to do these sort of financially desperate things in order to get access to money. I don't know why the lady got naked. I have no idea, but that's just what she did. So anyway, so here's the deal. When you're talking about money, money is the ultimate lubricant that allows you to seamlessly enjoy the other parts of your life that matter far more than money. And when you don't have money, it creates what we call in economics, we call that a friction. It creates a friction. A friction is like gears grinding. It's like running an engine without oil in the engine. And when you don't run the engine without oil in the engine, you get all this friction and all these problems, and the engine eventually breaks down. When you don't have enough money, next thing you know, your mental health is gone, or you're eating unhealthy food because you got to work 14-hour shifts, or maybe your relationships are falling apart because you're spending so much time at work that your spouse is sleeping with the pool boy, right? Your husband done walked out because you might be a boss at work, but you ain't a wife at home, just whatever, right? A lot of things go on when money's kind of like the number one priority, or money becomes too much of a problem. Like money can be the problem child that just ruins everything. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm saying here. I'm trying to draw this picture for you so you'll understand this. So now let's circle back to this thing with Michael and his son. I have nothing against Michael or his family or anything like that. So, and I do not know them personally, so I'm not in any way trying to disparage them on any level. I'm sure this is very serious for them and very, very sad. But really, when I tell you what, I thought about when I saw what happened with Marcus, I thought about a lot of our families, right? I thought about a lot of us as newly affluent black people, many of us who grew up poor. How many of you grew up poor and then like found a way to not be poor anymore, right? How many of you grew up poor and now you're doing well and you feel kind of successful, you feel like you've accomplished something? A lot of you are in that category. If you're not there yet, that's okay. Just keep hanging out with us. You will be successful, or your kids will be. Somebody's gonna win because we on the cutting edge of economics up in here. So the point is to say that a lot of times the newly subscribed black middle class, or the newly subscribed black upper class, that's what they struggle with. Studies show that children of wealthy parents have a far higher likelihood of experiencing depression and anxiety than children of poor parents. Did you know that? In fact, I pulled up some research here on this topic. to help you understand this. And I think I have a theory on why. I got a lot of theories on a lot of stuff. So just take it with a grain of salt. Some of my theories is backed by science. Some of them just are Boyce-isms, if you want to call it that. Um, yeah, basically, wealthy kids are 2 times more likely to experience anxiety and depression. Studies from Columbia University show that children from high-income families making over 150K a year report double the rates of anxiety and depression compared to middle-class kids. The pressure to maintain wealth, lack of financial struggle, and entitlement issues all play a role. Now, let me ask you a question. Instead of a parent that makes over $150,000 a year, what if you have a dad who makes $150,000 an hour? Right? What if what if money was never a problem? What if you're for your Sweet 16, you got a $300,000 sports car or something, and you always lived in nice, safe neighborhoods, and everywhere you went, everyone applauded you because you were Michael Jordan's son, and everything was just handed to you because of who you were. Um, on one hand, it's a dreamy lifestyle for sure, but without it being put into proper context, I can imagine how it would be a complete nightmare for in terms of losing your sense of purpose. I got the privilege. I was privileged as a kid. I was privileged by having deficiencies in certain areas. I was privileged by having something I had to hustle for. I was privileged by having things I had to prove to people who didn't believe in me. I was privileged by starting with nothing because I had an opportunity to dream and fantasize about all the things I would want to get once I actually reached the mountaintop. But what if I'd been born on top of the mountain? That's really, really, I mean, and we might think that that's easy, and sure, it can be. I mean, it can work if you have a smart parent who's spending time with you and talking you through it all. Like, son, most people don't live like this, and here's how we're going to take our leadership role in society and go to the next level, whatever that means for us, right? You need a parent talking you through that. But if your dad is Michael Jordan and he's gone 90% of the time, you got your mother, sure, but fathers matter. Fathers matter for boys and girls, right? I can imagine where that might create some mental health issues in terms of the anxiety and depression. I think the biggest pathway for a man to have depression is when he doesn't have a sense of purpose. If a man is not forced to get up and go to work every day for something, if he's not setting goals and trying to put energy toward accomplishing something, that is a pathway to depression, just so you know. If you ever want to be depressed and miserable and sad, just sit around with plenty of money, plenty of weed, plenty of liquor, plenty of women, plenty of free time, and then watch how that person's life can deteriorate if they cannot find something that gives them meaning and gives them purpose. You must find your purpose in life. If you do not find your purpose in life, you will be sad. That's a guarantee. And when I see people that use drugs, and my wife is she by the way, she's not just a badass as a therapist, like she trains therapists. That's how good she is. Also, she teaches a class, a university class she's taught for a decade on addiction. And one thing that she'll talk about is that when you talk about addiction, you talk about, and again, I don't know if Marcus is addicted to the cocaine or he just had it on him that night. I'm not going to make assumptions there. But when she talks about addiction or the use of drugs, a lot of times it's connected to a void in your soul. Like something that's just there. Like you can't naturally produce dopamine by finding happiness in your life, so you take the artificial dopamine, which comes from using the drug, right? And so at the end of the day, and I agree with you, drugs do leave you feeling hollow. I just wonder what could be happening there. And it's not me, really so much my concern for Marcus or Michael. They got that figured out. That's their family. It's really my thinking about us in general, just us as people, and sort of how we navigate this wealth thing. There are poor people problems and there are rich people problems. A lot of you, because you are taking the time to come in here every day and we're talking about cutting edge financial topics every single morning, we do this every morning. You're going to be rich. Your kids are going to be rich. And then, so but that doesn't mean your problems are going to go away. It just means you're going to have different problems. You're different challenges, different opportunities for growth. That's what problems are. Problems are really challenges and opportunities for growth. That's what they are. In mathematics, I taught math at the University of Kentucky, and when I gave you a math problem, that was not something for you to cry or stress over. It was something that gave you an opportunity to get better at math. Do you understand? So the mathematics of life, the mathematics of money, the mathematics of society, the mathematics of success, the mathematics of being black, all those situations that you might define as problems, those are not just barriers and obstacles and horrible hurdles and reasons to cry. No, these are opportunities for growth. Okay. So if you see it that way, then you won't necessarily freak out, because the more time you spend freaking out, the less time you have you spent getting out of the situation or fixing things or learning or seeing out into the future in terms of what this can actually do for you when it comes to growth. Okay. So with that being said, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. I want to remind everybody we're doing a financial slumber party on the 7th in 2 days. And the financial slumber party is where we literally act like complete immature buffoons. And we come into his private Zoom at 11 o'clock at night, and we bring our popcorn and wear our pajamas and we play music and we learn finance together. So it's like a big financial party, a big slumber party. Don't ask me where the idea came from. It probably came from God, or maybe it came from me reminiscing on fun stuff we did back in the 1980s. I have no idea, but either way, that's what we do. And y'all like the last one, so we're going to do another one. This time, we're going to talk about ETFs, and I'm going to do a deep dive on ETFs, exchange traded funds, how to pick them, the different styles, how they can work. And the best part is that there is a fee, a small fee. I'll cut the price for you guys. I'll text out the link for you a little bit later on today. And the best part is that you can pay for one person and bring your whole family. All the trainings, all the slides, the recording, the PowerPoint slides are yours for life, and you can keep this forever. And I guarantee you, ETFs are a direct pathway to your millionaire status. That's one thing that will get you there. That alone is one thing that will get you to millionaire status if that's what you want for your family. So anyway, if you're not on the text list for this class, get on the text list. Pull out your phone, text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and I will send that out to you this afternoon. So text morning on your phone to the phone number 87948. Somebody write that in the chat. Also, those of you that are doing stock options with us in the Prime program, I did do answer all your questions yesterday, and I made a video. I'm going to text that out to you as well. Stock options are a great way to make extra income as well. Selling stock options, not just buying them. Buying them is can become like gambling. I'm not a big fan of that. But and unfortunately, poor Michael, he did a lot of gambling back in the day. Ooh, buddy. But anyway, I'm not into that stuff. Selling stock options is what I think is a great way to generate income. And I think once you get exposed to it, you're going to be as excited as I was when I first learned how this stuff works. So if you want to learn more about options, you can just text the word options to the number 87948. So text options to 87948. Now, with that said, let's get back to what happened with his son. So, Marcus Jordan, Michael Jordan's son, was just arrested for drug possession, among other things. It looks like there was some stuff going on, and I heard him say something during the arrest, like "I am Michael Jordan's son," which maybe that's something you might say if you're a little bit, inebriated or whatever, under the influence of something, right? Which to me is kind of like, I don't know if you should have said that. I wonder how Michael felt about that, but either way, that doesn't matter. That's his decision. One thing I'll say is that when I think about his life and I think about a lot of your lives, as we're all on this paper chase, and why I feel like it's really important to talk to you about having that balance as you pursue your money and really knowing about the wealth that comes naturally with children and family. It gets overlooked a lot. Like, we don't understand that our black children, our precious babies, are $1 trillion asset. They're a multi-trillion-dollar asset. Why do you think that all these public schools want the black children coming to school? Because they get money. They get money per child, right? So they make money when the children show up to school. They want to fill up the prisons with little black boys because they make money for every face, every person that's in that penitentiary, right? And and there are little towns that they where they don't even like black people that much, but they definitely want the prison in their town because the prison creates jobs, the prison creates wealth, the prison makes billions of dollars for that industry and for people in that town. So ultimately, family is a type of wealth. Your children are an asset, right? And what sometimes can happen is that if we're on that paper chase, right? If we're looking at the money side and we're saying, damn, I don't have enough money. I got to go get money. I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to do it for you. But so you disappear from your kids. You don't spend time with them because you're out here doing all these things for you that they never asked for, by the way. They never said, hey, Dad, I would like to see you less so that you can go out and make more money and buy a sports car. No, when kids don't care about money, in case you don't know, kids really don't care. I'm not saying that you should have them homeless and starving, but children really don't give a damn if you got the promotion at the job or not. They don't care that you make a quarter million instead of 150K. They don't care if you're famous. They don't. They're like, well, you weren't there to play with me. I wanted to throw the football in the front yard and you weren't around. So a lot of times what I will say, and remember I've told you all this, that the most valuable asset that you'll ever have in your life is not money. One of the more valuable assets is actually time. And I was explaining to you how wealth is linked to time. Time is so special in the wealth equation that I almost see it as sacred. Like if money was like a religion, which it isn't, it really isn't, but when you get a doctorate, it kind of has almost become you almost become like a financial monk because all you're doing is you're sitting around thinking about mathematical equations related to money and finance all day long. And I told you I have this really special relationship with time. Like it's like embedded in me. And I can just tell you that time is really the asset that people overlook. Time is the thing that people don't understand well enough that if they understood it, if you saw it the way I saw it, you wouldn't waste it. You wouldn't waste it. The investment of time is everything, right? Number one, time is simple. And just one simple example. I've told you all that if you'd bought $1,800 worth of Apple stock in 1997, you'd have about $3 or $4 million today. If you'd bought just a couple $1,000s worth of Bitcoin a decade ago, you'd be a millionaire, right? But you can't do it now because time is gone. The time is over, right? You can't invest for, your child's 30 years old. You can't go back and invest for them as a baby because the 30 years of time was sort of allowed to disappear where that money could have grown over time and it would have become a massive amount of money. But also with time, there's also just that other part about sort of where we're allocating our time, right? That should be part of the wealth and investment equation as well. How are you allocating the time, right? So, my kids are little. Time's going to run out. One day they're going to be big, annoying teenagers who don't want to be around me anymore. Am I using my time to really spend as much time with them while they're young to really entrench and those neural pathways and form those connections that are going to allow us to be uh, embedded with one another as we get older? Or am I doing, I talked to a very wealthy friend recently who said she didn't realize, she said, I grew up poor and she felt like she was sacrificing for the kids by working all the time. And she said she did not find out until her kids were grown that her kids were like, Mom, we just wanted you to be with us. And she said, I felt so bad because I spent all my time working. I spent all my time building my business. I spent all my time at the job. I would spend all my time away from my kids. I would leave at 5 in the morning to go to the gym and come home at 9 o'clock at night. And all my kids wanted was my time. They didn't want all this extra money. She made millions of dollars and she felt very terrible about this. Right. So time is really sacred. And I think about Michael Jordan and his son because I wonder how much time the sons got with their father and how much time the children got versus the time that they wanted. Like how do they feel about that, right? Because that can just leave a void that never really goes away. And I wonder if that play some part in these outcomes, right? And again, it's not about gossiping about their family. That's not of interest to me. It's really more so talking through these things with you so you understand the proper asset allocation. See, don't forget this. This is important to understand. Everybody in here is a CEO. Every one of you is a CEO. Every single one of you is the CEO. You are the CEO of your life. Some of y'all are the CEOs of your family. Maybe you're the CEO, the co-CEO of your marriage. You're the CEO of your future. You really are in the position of a CEO. You've got basically what do CEOs do? They have a bunch of resources and they're responsible for managing those resources. They're responsible for deciding, okay, where are we going to invest this dollar versus that dollar? Which project are we going to pursue, that project or this project? Are we going to pay a dividend or are we going to make an investment? That's what you're doing. Every day you're making these decisions. You don't understand. When a company makes a decision to pay itself a dividend, what they're doing is they're saying, let me just chill out. Let me just take some of this money and enjoy the money. It's versus doing what I also could do, which is to reallocate the money and make an investment so I can have more in the future. Every single one of you, every single day is making a dividend investment decision. People that chill all the time, sit around. I'm gonna sit around. I'm gonna eat my pork chops and sleep in and not do any work. You're taking a dividend. You're paying yourself a big dividend. That's what you're doing, right? I'm not gonna think about what I'm eating. I'm gonna enjoy my food. I'm gonna not work on anything. I'm gonna just sit and watch Netflix. I'm not going to invest my money. I'm going to spend it, right? I'm not going to think about my health. I'm not going to spend time at the gym or anything like that so I can have better health. I'm going to just relax. You're paying yourself a dividend. And I want you to think about this mathematically. If you have a company run by a CEO who does nothing but pay himself dividends all the time, is that company going to grow? Yes or no? If the CEO is issuing a dividend every week and never making an investment, is that company going to survive? Yes or no? So I want you to think about life, and I want you to look at yourself, look at your friends. You can be judgmental if you want to. I don't care, but ain't nobody up in here better than nobody else. So stop judging and start judging yourself. If you want to judge somebody, judge you, right? Um, but I want you to look at the difference. Look at the people in your life who are constantly making investments, the CEOs that you know who are investing. That young kid who's studying in all his spare time, that person who's investing 50% of their income, that person who's in the gym busting their butt every single day, who's trying to eat right and all this other stuff. And then I want you to look at the people who are always paying a dividend, the people who are just Netflix and chill. I'm gonna eat the potato chips and the pork rinds because that feels good to me right now. I'm gonna go sleep with that pretty girl, even though I don't know if she has an STD or if she's gonna be my next baby's mama or is gonna drain me in the child support courts. I'm gonna do it because I need that injection of dopamine. I need to feel good right now, so I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so people who pay themselves dividends constantly don't tend to have much growth, and this is actually true in financial theory. This is actually true in financial companies that pay themselves dividends. They're what they call cash cows. These are big companies that maybe have plenty of cash. They're not trying to grow. If you buy stock in a cash cow company that pays a big dividend, your stock price will not go up very much because there's no growth. There's no growth because there's no investment. They're not investing. They're not trying to expand. They're not trying to get. And typically, fortunately, companies that do this are usually companies where they've done enough. They've made enough. Like Coca-Cola has made enough money. They've built enough infrastructure. They're not really trying to do like Meta and have $60 billion in capex spend. They're not trying to make capital expenditures in the tens of billions of dollars because they're like, yeah, we're good. All we got to do is kind of maintain what we have, and we'll pay a good dividend, and everybody lives good, and that's okay. But see, the problem is that sometimes you have people that were never trained and never understood how things are supposed to actually work. They didn't understand that you're supposed to accomplish something before you start chilling. They were never trained to understand that. Look, when you want to kick back and relax, you can do that after you've busted your butt for 20 years and built something. But you get some people that start chilling at the age of 21, right? You start paying yourself a dividend before you even have an income. Right? You've never hustled in your life. You never accomplished nothing. You never invested in anything. And then you're surprised when you're broke. Like you don't understand how you got broke. I'm like, I can show you. I can show you that that five minus zero minus five is negative five. Or something like five minus zero minus five is actually zero. But you get the point, right? But I can show you this. Like you're asking me, well, why do I have no harvest? And I'm like, well, did you plant anything? Did you plant any seeds? You'd be amazed how many people plant no seeds but are shocked when they have no harvest. They somehow think that everyone else has a harvest because they're white, or everyone else has a harvest because life isn't fair, or everyone else has a harvest because they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And that's just not true. The best way to understand the nature of your harvest is to look at the nature of your seeds. So Michael Jordan is interesting to me, and this is why I admire the guy. I mean, I give him full credit for the fact that when I was in my PhD program, when I was at Indiana University, I had a really hard time when I was there. I mean, it was traumatically difficult. Like I just one day I'll tell y'all about the trauma. Like I haven't forgotten it. And it was so hard, and I felt like I was buried under the mud. I felt like I couldn't. I mean, it's really hard to go from being like a straight A student that makes an A in everything to getting like D's on your tests and all that. Because it was like basically because they needed a whole lot of advanced mathematics to do this stuff. It was insane, like just insane. And what actually got me through that and got me to really recommit to trying to be great and making the right investment in my life was I read his book. And I read his book. It was really short. And he said a couple of things that I really liked that stuck with me. The one thing he said that I really admired was he said that if you have a weakness, you should work on your weakness until it becomes your greatest strength. And at that time, my weakness was math. I was not good at math. So I said, okay, I'm going to work on my weakness until it becomes my greatest strength. I don't remember the name of the book. I wish I could tell you. I'm so sorry. Um, and I thought about Michael's career. Michael did the same thing. If you remember, if anybody who knows basketball knows that Mike, and now I want to talk about this just so we can make sure this is not a Michael Jordan bashing conversation. I'm not here to bash this man because he's there. I imagine I can only imagine the discomfort and pain they're going through. So I'm not here to add to that. But if you remember when Michael Jordan first got in the NBA, they used to write articles saying, can this man ever win a championship? Because they felt like he was a great scorer, he was a great leaper and all this stuff, but he couldn't play any defense and he wasn't a good team player. So he learned how to be a great team player. He learned how to pass the ball. He became an assist leader in the NBA. Then they were saying, well, you don't play good defense. Well, then he worked on his defense and he became one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Then they were saying he's not strong enough because the Detroit Pistons would just kind of slap him around. They had an article in Sports Illustrated called the Jordan Rules, and this is basically like rules they applied to stop Michael Jordan. And the next year, they couldn't stop him because this guy came, he got a strength coach and he became one of the strongest players in the NBA. Then they said he couldn't shoot. And then he became one of the best shooters in the NBA. I mean, I just really admire that. That's growth. That's growth. And I remember one thing Michael said that was really powerful in the book was he said that if you look at a tree, if the tree is growing, it's strong, it's firm, it's kind of it's alive. But if the tree dies, it just starts swaying in the wind, and eventually it just kind of, whittles away. And he says, so in life, generally, you're either growing or you're dying. You're growing or you're dying. You're growing through investment or you're dying through dividends. You're just sitting, maybe you're living on your past glory, maybe you've given up, maybe you're not trying anymore, maybe you never learned how to try. I don't know. But I can tell you, in my opinion, just like I was telling you earlier, that the secret to happiness, in my opinion, one secret is to find your purpose. Your purpose will drive you. But number two, is growth. If you want to feel alive, find those growth areas. If you want to feel alive, find those problems in your life that are hard to solve and pour time, invest time into learning how to overcome those challenges as a pathway to growth. It's frustrating, it's hard. It's easy to do what others tell you to do and walk away from your problems and to be afraid of them. But if you truly want to grow, you confront the problems, you figure them out, you get more information, more data, more research. You see it as a growth opportunity and not just as an opportunity to be stressed out or to give up. People that stay stressed out, that give up, don't tend to grow. And in my opinion, those people have never really lived because they've never really seen what their fullest potential looks like. See, there's a version of you that lives on the mountaintop, in my opinion. There's a version of you that lives on the mountaintop, and most people never get to see that version of themselves. They don't, because they're afraid of the growth, they're afraid of the challenge, they're afraid to try, they're afraid to invest, or they waste the time, they pay the dividend, they sit back and they live the comfortable life instead of engaging a little bit. Do you understand? So you got to engage, right? So I want to say thanks to Michael. If he ever sees this, I don't know. I know people that know Michael, but I've never met him. If he sees this, I want to say thank you. That was a great book. He does have excellence when it comes to basketball. But then there's that other side of this, right? I remember watching, my wife and I were concerned when we saw that documentary that they did, the one on Netflix. You know what I'm talking about. I forgot what it was called. But it was really good. It was really great to watch and see how the Bulls just, the last dance, thank you, Jason, where they pretty much screwed up like one of the greatest teams in NBA history. I mean, just terrible management, terrible management. But anyway, his eyes look yellow. Did anybody notice that his eyes were real yellow and he had this glass of liquor with him while he's drinking? And my wife, because she's a nurturer and a therapist, she's like, "Ooh, I'm really concerned. I'm really worried about him. I'm worried about his physical and his mental health." And it made us wonder if what's the price that you pay for that kind of a life? What's the price that you pay? Or like, because I know I've been sure spending time with the kids wasn't something that he was really able to do. And then when you sort of look at what certain people might have said about what it was like to work with him, the bullying side, the kind of mean and abrasive side that maybe he felt he needed in order to win championships. Sometimes you can win the championship and kind of lose your soul in the process. Sometimes you can dominate but what happens is dominant people can become dismissive of other people, hurt their feelings, minimize other people, right? You feel great because other people are made to feel small. And I'm wondering if Marcus was like that small little boy who already had the pressure of living up to his father. I admire the fact that both of his sons played basketball. 'Cause I'm gonna tell you the truth. If my daddy was Michael Jordan, and then on top of that, my daddy loves to date short women, right? He had a baby with a short woman, so I'm not 6'6" like my dad. I'm 6'2", trying to be Michael. You can't be a 6'2" Michael Jordan. It's not possible. Right, you can't. Right, like poor Bronny James. Like LeBron should have got him a wife from the WNBA so they could have a big old gigantic son who could go in there and fill his daddy's legacy. But Bronny can't do it. That's a lot of pressure. Right? I would totally not I would stay as far away from basketball as I could. I'd be like, I'm managing basketball players, I'm a sports agent, or I am going to be a lawyer, or I'm going to be some. I would not try to play back. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. So the fact that they even tried, I admire that. But it's sad because they kind of struggled. I think both of the Suns played for like Central. I think one of the Suns averaged like 12 points a game at Central Florida or something, right? Which is kind of sad, right? Which is very, very sad. So anyway, I'm just thinking about the mental health aspect of that. And again, going back to that $1 million question, if you could be a billionaire but you knew that your children were going to pay a massive price for that. Maybe one of your kids was going to end up in a crazy situation involving drugs. Would you make that trade? And I saw most of you said no, and I think that that's good. And I would encourage you to understand something that's really important about success, in my opinion. Spider-Man's uncle said something that was actually true. His uncle said in the movie, he said, "With great power comes great responsibility." Right? With great power, with a powerful, great man, great woman has the ability, you're almost like a walking nuclear bomb, right? Your words have power, your actions have power. You can hurt people, you can help people, you can do a lot of things, right? When you come into the space, and I see this a little bit too honestly. I have spaces where I'm thinking, oh gosh, I got a lot of variables to calculate as I make this move because a lot of people are going to be affected by what I do. Um, with that, in my view, should come a commitment to almost like monk-like meditation to really understand how your power is going to affect the people that you care about the most, right? Starting with parenting. Do you understand how like I'm gonna talk to the dads for a minute. Like, do you understand how powerful a man is? When a man is like just in the room, our space, I think we have power. We can, a man who is irresponsible with his power can traumatize a family for 3 generations deep. I've seen this. I told you all the story about the 95-year-old man that I met who was living all by himself, even though he had a bunch of kids and grandkids. Nobody came to see him, and it was real weird. He smoked crack. He had a 27-year-old girlfriend that would come to see him every time he got a social security check, and they would smoke crack together. It's crazy, right? Just like what the hell, man, right? Well, I found out the backstory that 50 years ago he used to be a hitman for the mafia. And he didn't just kill people for a living, but he terrorized his family. It was there's just insane amounts of abuse. He attacked his wife with a hammer. That's why she didn't speak to him for 50 years. He just did horrible things to the family. And so literally 3 generations deep, because I know the family. 3 generations, his great grandkids are now struggling in life because of the trauma that he injected, almost like a disease, right? Like a virus. He injected the trauma into the kids, who injected the trauma into the grandkids, who injected the trauma into the great grandkids. So literally 60, 70 years later, his family is still feeling the effects of this man's choices and behavior. So in my view, my thought is as you go out here and you become powerful and you become the boss and you become successful and all these other things, I would really encourage you to do things like number one, therapy. Therapy is essential for anybody who wants to understand how you navigate between being a good person and being a great person. That those are not always the same. Sometimes you can't be a good person and a great person at the same time. Right? Michael Jordan's a great man. I don't think he was always a good man. Right? Sometimes he couldn't be a good man, but sometimes he could have been a good man if he had thought about it a little more carefully. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Um, Therapy, meditation, I think goes a long way. Balance is essential, right? Health, wealth, and relationships. How do these things all balance each other out? How do I know if I'm trying to make money and I'm trying to chase money because I have a financial deficiency? How do I know when I've made enough money? How do I know? A lot of people don't even know this. This is the basic thing about money. This relates to something called utility theory in economics. Most people don't even know when they've actually made enough money that they've actually become financially free. Sometimes their financial trauma runs so deep that even that they can have $10 million in the bank and still be a slave for money. See, people think that being financially free means having plenty of money. That's not true. There are lots of people who have millions in the bank who are still financial slaves. Money's powerful. Money is a drug. So money can either liberate you or it can enslave you. It all depends on what your financial consciousness is. If you're conscious and you say, okay, you know what? I got 2 million. I'm good. F everybody. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm going to take care of my mental health now, my physical health now. I'm spending time with the wife and kids. Yeah, you told me I could make another million if I abandon my kids and spend time with you, but my 3-year-old ain't going to be 3 for very long. So I'm going to pass up the million to go spend time with my kid because in the money area, the tank is full. We're good over here. Do you understand? And you can imagine some other people that don't do that. They're like, oh no, I gotta go and gotta go make the money. Daddy's gotta go make money. He's doing this for you, son. I'll see you next month. And the baby's like, I don't even know what money is. I don't give a damn. We live in a big house. Why are you working so much? And then you get to the point where you have to ask yourself these weird questions like, why are you like this? And are you really doing it for the kids or are you doing it for yourself? It's the easiest thing in the world to say, well, I'm doing all this for you. But if the person that you're doing it for didn't even ask you for it, then who are you doing it for? Men, we do that a lot. We'll be like, I went out and I made all this money for you, and your wife will be like, I just want you to get me some flowers. I didn't want you to go make another $1 million. Like you already did. Oh, we got money. I just want to spend time with you. I just want you to tell me you love me. And so that requires consciousness to stop and say, okay, let me think about why I'm even doing this. So ultimately, what I would encourage you to do is pursue, if you really want to enjoy your money, if you really want to enjoy your financial freedom, get your mental health right. If you really want to enjoy your money, get your physical health right so you can live long enough to enjoy it, right? If you really want to enjoy your money, get your relationships right. So you can get the right people in your life and you can use your money as a pathway to make those relationships better, to be a better friend and to be a better supporter to the people that you love. All these things, right? So money is a powerful tool. It's something that black people need. We cannot be strong in this country without it. Stop thinking that your civil rights are ever going to come if you don't get your civil rights together. If you don't get your money together, the civil rights are never going to arrive. That's just a fact. I hate saying it, but it's true. And then as you do this though, make sure you approach it with the kind of balance that's going to help you feel fulfilled. Okay, so anyway, that's it. Not picking on Michael Jordan. I want to make that 100% clear. If this gets back to Michael, I'm not into because I told you I'm friends with Larry and Larry knows Michael and all that, and I'm not, I don't want to, I'm not trying to do none of that. I admire the guy actually. I just think that there's something to learn from here, and that's why I wanted to talk about this topic. Okay, guys. So if you just a reminder, if you want to get on the text list for this class. We do this every morning, 7 days a week, at 10 a.m. Eastern. Every day we just do some financial topic lesson. I literally talk off my head because there's so many things that kind of go through the brain when it comes to the money stuff. If you want to join, make sure you text the word money on your phone to the number 87948. So text money to the number 87948. Also, reminder tonight, Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we're going to do our Powernomics training. We do this every Wednesday at 8:30. Dr. Claude Anderson, he's the goatiest goat of all of Black economics. And so we read his books every Wednesday night. If you want to understand Black economic history, especially Black History Month, come on now. You got to know Dr. Claude Anderson. If you want to understand why we've got to build our wealth, you got to know about Dr. Claude Anderson. If you want to understand why we are owed reparations, you got to listen to Dr. Claude Anderson. So we're almost done with his book called The Black History Reader. And then after that, we're going to pick another book. Maybe we'll read my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And that's what we're doing tonight at 8:30. So I'll text you guys on that text list and invite you to come in. How's he doing? Barber, he's struggling. He's 90, so it comes with the territory. Unfortunately, I'll give him your best though. And also, last but not least, don't forget that we're gonna have the Millionaire Training Camp live in person in Miami the weekend of March 7th. That's when we're gonna meet in Miami the weekend of March 7th. You can go ahead and lock it in. We are going to sell the tickets next week, and we've already got our speakers lined up and everything. Errol Simengal, who's a great guy. Errol's actually in this class. Sometimes he comes in the mornings, but Errol is my options buddy. He's going to be there talking about stock options, things like that. Jay Cameron is going to talk about business in Africa and the trip to Ghana, things like that. Constance Carter she ran the largest black-owned real estate firm in California. She's going to be there. Tierra Williams, who understands the art of story selling, she's going to be there. And of course, I'll be there and I'll do some trainings as well. And also on top of that, you'll get a chance to meet each other in 3D in person and form those relationships that will allow you to thrive in this society. So Keep an eye out for that. And the financial slumber party. Also, I'll send you guys a link today if you want to join us for the financial slumber party on Friday. So we got a lot going on for you in the Black Business School. I want to say thank you. We have about 180,000 students worldwide that we serve in the Black Business School. And the overwhelming majority of you tell us that you learn more from us than you ever learned in college. And that's exactly what the goal is. We're not trying to be as good as college. We're actually better. And one of the things that we do that keeps us a little bit ahead of the curve is we're not really focused on teaching just teaching our people to get jobs working for others. That's important, that's fine, but we're also talking about what it means to build industry, what it means to build wealth, what it means to build generational legacy, what it means to own industries, what it means to actually have economic power. That's the goal. I don't think you have economic power when every black person is trained to be an employee for a white guy. I just don't believe that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I just think that overall, we got to do something different, or we're going to end up in the same situation that we were in previous generations. All that can be changed with simple little pivots that you can do right now. And some of you are doing it now, and I want to encourage you to keep doing it. All right, so I'll see you all tomorrow morning. God bless you. Have a great day. And hopefully, you can also join us in Miami as well. Take care, everybody. See you soon.